Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar event, Quiz the WIz. For anyone new to this event, our small group of expert panelists will respond to some of your questions that were submitted to the prior week. Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. We're recording today's session. Anyone who's interested in getting an email with a link to the on-demand version that will become available after the event is finished. The session will run for about 30 minutes, which includes Q&A at the very end for presenters. I may pose one or two relevant questions during the presentation as they come up, but these will be limited and subject matter related. For the most part, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, attendees, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A panel on your GoToWebinar console, and we will address them towards the end of the presentation. Lastly, if for some reason we don't have time to address all of your questions in today's live event, please be assured that we will follow up with you directly. My name is Bill Burton. I'm account executive for SHEA Global. I've been with SHEA for about 6 months and have about 10 years experience helping clients align solutions to overcome some of their most pressing business challenges. I'm certain you'll enjoy today's Quiz the WIz sessions and questions. I'll be your host for today. As part of my hosting duties, I'll now introduce you to some of our panelists. Before we get there, just to quickly overview who SHEA is. Our team at SHEA has many years of experience and expertise helping our customers in multiple industries. We're an essential service company according to the definitions of the province of Ontario, and we have and will continue to stay open to service our customers as we are a global provider of ERP, CRM, BI, business intelligence, and demand-driven technologies and solutions focused on transforming supply chains. SHEA Global, we believe there's a potential for excellence in every business, and we're passionate about helping our customers achieve that. Are you ready for today's Quiz the WIz panel? I'd like to introduce first is Josh Fraser. Josh has been with SHEA Global as a project delivery expert on the project delivery team since 2014. Josh is an experienced IT professional with over 10 years of progressive experience supporting large-scale complex Microsoft environments, both on-premise and in the cloud, and an expert of t-shirts, apparently. Next in our star lineup is Grantley Smith. Grantley is a senior solution architect at SHEA Global. He has over 25 years experience with a variety of technologies. Grantley's expertise is delivering high-value custom solutions for clients with complex business requirements over a variety of industries. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Roger Fleury. Roger Fleury is with our UK practice. Roger joined our group in 1995 and has over 30 years experience of implementing ERP systems with current focus on Microsoft Dynamics and demand-driven supply chain solutions. Roger has at providing detailed pre-sales engagements and effective business consultancy to ensure appropriate use of ERP and S&OP systems to clients. All right. Are we ready for Quiz the WIz? Excellent. I take that as a yes. All right. So first question from our attendees who've attended in the past. This goes to the panelists. How do you use the background effects on Microsoft Teams? And as Josh, you were a couple of weeks ago did a presentation on Microsoft Teams and showed a couple of these features. Maybe you can take this question.
Absolutely. Before we start, one of the things, if you want to go to the next slide, Marina, and show the little intro video. As we've probably seen this guy before. You know, you're on a video conference and somebody walks into your office. You're working from home, and you know, your little kid wanders in. It's happened to me. Microsoft Teams has introduced some features that we can use to actually prevent this. The first feature was called background blur, and then they've actually extended that even further, and it's rolling out now in April. Some of the tenants have it, some of them may not, called background effects. You can actually use custom backgrounds. If you want to go to the next slide, please. to turn on background effects when you're in a video call, you just click on the ellipse, which is the 3 dots, and then select Show Background Effects. And if you go to the next slide, you'll be presented with this option where you can select from a set of stock background photos as well as a blur. And just by clicking Apply, your effect is then turned on. So in this case, our host, Bill, has made it appear as though he's sitting in the Blue Jays dugout.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I actually was sitting in the Blue Jays dugout when that picture was taken.
Obviously not recently then.
Right.
Sure you were.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. So right now, Microsoft provides you with the ability to use a set of stock background images. And there, in the coming days, there will be a release that allows you to actually upload custom images. What Bill has been able to do is manually put the file in the right folder, but there will be a supported method of doing that in the near future. And that's how you use background effects.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. For next question, could you please demonstrate how Mentor works in GP 2018? And as Grantley's our GP expert, in-house expert, I'll pass the floor over to him because I think he's got a quick demonstration for this.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Just checking, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, yeah, looks good.
Okay, good stuff. So let me back up just a little bit. Mentor is part of the Rockton Toolbox. The Rockton Toolbox is a GP-specific third party that is available to anyone on pretty much any version of GP. If you have it, you have access to a bunch of different features, Mentor being one of them. I just wanted to quickly take you through all the others though. So if I just go into the setup window, and you may not know what else you've got available to you. So Mentor is part of the toolbox, and the toolbox actually contains a number of different features and functions for GP. It contains password policy enforcement, user timeouts and logouts, so that people, if they're in the system for too long consuming a license, can be safely logged out. It contains a user lockout for security if somebody attempts their password 3 times and gets it wrong 3 times. It also contains a bunch of business tools as well. So some of those would include turning on reason codes for holds on customers and vendors. If you put a customer or a vendor on hold, you can actually have the user forced to apply a reason code to that. There's a whole payment approval hierarchy built into the toolbox as well, which if you turn it on will allow you to push payment transactions as opposed to the invoices or the orders themselves on the payable side of things, to actually push payment approvals through a hierarchy and approval system. And then there's some various and assorted little tools that are built into it as well. There's a batch posting window that will allow you to review all batches across all of the different modules in GP all in one go. There is a mass period open close across multiple companies. There's about 17, I think, different toys contained within the toolbox. The one the question was specifically about was Mentor. So if you've got Rockton installed in your system, if you currently have it, you'll probably see at some point that an M appeared on your toolbar, like the M that I've got up here on my toolbar. And what Mentor is a quick way of searching GP for windows that you may not have added to your quick links and you may not want to waste time figuring out how to navigate to. It's actually very simple to use. You just click on the M, which brings up the Mentor window, type in any part of what you think the window name is, and Mentor will actually search the whole of your application, all of your installed products, all of your installed third parties, and will pull up any windows that contain any part of your search criteria. So I just typed in apply and it's pulled up the apply payables window, the apply sales document window, and then the payables apply and the receivables apply window. It doesn't just search it. It tells you at the bottom whether or not you have access to that window. It tells you whether that window is a child of another window. You'll see the little arrow on there. and it will also actually open the window for you. So if you double click on it, it will take you to the window in question. And you can also add it to your shortcut bar just by clicking on the add shortcut at the top as well. Now, if you found this for the first time and it's not working, and you search and it doesn't come up with anything, then what you need is a system administrator to go into the toolbox, go into setup, go into troubleshooting, and there's a task here that's called rebuild the search tables. I'm not going to click on it now because it's going to scan through every single window in GP and add it into that search window. The only time you would need to do this is after an upgrade or after you add any third parties, any new third parties into your system, or just periodically if it's not showing up the tables that you were expecting it, the windows, sorry, that you were expecting it to pull up. But basically, as part of 17 tools in the toolkit, you click on the M, type in correctly, possibly, part of what you're looking for, and it will pull up every single window that it can find in GP that might be related to that. So cash brings up cash receipts, cash brings up the cash flow forecast, and a double click will take you straight to that window. So it's fast and easy navigation through a search window inside the GP application itself. Now, some of the other products that we support also have a search function. So Business Central has it right on the home page on the toolbar. F and SCM, as it is now, F&O also has a search function. GP out the box doesn't, but this is how you can add it through the Rockton toolbox. So that was it for that question, I think, Bill. Product specific, but no problem at all, and a quick live demo as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Brantley. Nice on-the-fly demo. That was great. Bridging the gap there from Business Central to F&O as well. I think that's I think I asked the question earlier, is this functionality available on Business Central? But it actually, until you said it, it was available already. Didn't register, but thanks. Next question. Comes to us. I've been seeing quite a bit of information on DDMRP from SHEA. What is it? And I'll throw this one to Roger Fleury. Roger Fleury is our resident expert on DDMRP. And in actual fact, there's a webinar coming up in the future. Marina will send a link out to the DDMRP webinar to all of the attendees to let them know when that is, hopefully we'll see you there. So with that, Roger, maybe you could just let everybody know what DDMRP is.
Okay, well, I mean, DDMRP refers to demand-driven material requirements planning. So it's about a methodology that helps with companies' sales and operations planning. Traditionally, for the last 40 odd years, all ERP systems that we've certainly sold and nearly all installed ERP systems around the world run one or a version of material requirements planning, MRP, master planning, or MRP is the module built into ERP. In today's environment, though, most professional planners and schedulers tend to have to take data that their ERP system generates and put it into the beloved Excel in order to actually manipulate the data and actually help make the decisions that they actually need to do to cope with today's very volatile environment. Things have changed a lot since MRP was first designed. We're seeing far more complex supply chains. Well, as we're seeing disruptions to those supply chains, as obviously everybody's experiencing at the moment. But everything has just got far more complicated. So about eight or 10 years ago, some guys who decided to set up the Demand Driven Institute thought hard about how to improve things, and different solutions have been suggested as improvements to the planning process over the years. Lean has certainly taken its place in the management methodologies for improving business processes. Theory of constraints as well is definitely well established. And on the basis of looking at the likes of Lean, theory of constraint, and material requirements planning, they've come up with a hybrid methodology that actually creates a pragmatic, practical approach to doing planning in today's environment. Unfortunately, most ERP systems don't have this built in because they've not adopted the technical architecture required. But that's not a barrier for looking at DDMRP now, because solutions are available in the cloud. The biggest barrier to getting an understanding of DDMRP is that people don't understand it. So one of the things we're very strong on is recommending customers to invest some time to learn about the process, because it can have a huge impact on a business operations. Critically, it's focused on improving customer service levels, reducing inventory, reducing lead times. All of these things can be pretty critical in terms of improving return on investment and business efficiency nowadays. The biggest barrier is just a mindset thing. The actual principles of DDMRP are quite simple. The software solutions that are required are all based on very simple, easy to interpret, red, amber, green, traffic light type technologies that help planners make decisions very rapidly. But it's going against the grain of the assumed way of working, which has always been master planning. So our challenge really is to educate our customers and people that we work with to understand a bit more about DDMRP. And on that basis, if anybody wants to have a more detailed conversation, then I'm more than happy to take this offline and contact me directly.
Roger, just a quick question that's come in on that. What do you see as the biggest difference between MRP and DDMRP today?
I think when MRP was first designed, everything was long lead times. Everything was dictated by the manufacturer. In today's marketplace, the customer is king, and businesses don't have visibility of their demand, so they're reliant on creating forecasts. And if only you have the perfect forecast, then maybe master planning is all you need. But the reality is perfect forecasts cannot be created. And if you start from the point where you have to rely on a forecast that you know is inaccurate, and you try and use that to do all your detailed planning, then you're obviously on the road to having an inaccurate plan. The thing about DDMRP is it only works based, it uses forecasts, but it doesn't use forecasts to drive planning decisions directly. The trigger for a planned order or a production order or purchase order is only ever driven by actual demand on the system. And there's nothing more, you can 100% rely on actual demand, whereas you can't rely on 100% accuracy of the forecast.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And I'm sure you'll get into a lot more details later in the week with some of that stuff and showing some of the benefits to organizations on that. Excellent. One other question that came in, you mentioned that not a lot of companies include this as part of their software makeup today. Is there a software solution available for this?
Well, that's the benefit of being cloud-based, is that we can provide cloud-based DDMRP solutions for planning very rapidly and integrate it with customers' existing systems. So there's no need to change your existing ERP system. That's obviously, there's a big effort involved in doing that, just to take on board a new functionality. So whatever ERP system you're using, be it SysPro, Great Plains, Dynamics, Business Central, whatever, all of those solutions can be integrated with a cloud-based DDMRP system. And then all the decision making can be done on very, very simple to use, as I said, color-coded red, amber, green planning solutions that we have.
Excellent. Question for Josh on Teams. Are you available to do training on Teams? And is there anything else that would need to be set up to have that installed?
Yeah, absolutely. Be more than happy to do some training with the customers. I guess if somebody has some specific requirements, specific goal that they're trying to meet with Teams, it would be good to have a bit of advanced notice so we can plan and train for that. But as far as just generic Teams training, absolutely, be ready to jump right in.
And the second part of that question was, is there anything that is specific to setting up Teams that's required?
So Teams does require an Office 365 subscription. It does require that the users have the appropriate Office 365 licensing. So that is required for setup. There is a desktop application for Teams, but it is not required. You can do pretty well everything within the web app. But as far as requirements go, it does require an Office 365 subscription and licensing.
Awesome. And that looks like it for our online questions. Just before we depart here, I know we're a little bit early on the time here, so I'm wondering if presenters, if you have something that you'd like to depart with, we'll sort of hand it over to you. If there's additional comments or additions that you'd like to include as part of the questions that you had, please feel free.
The only thing I was going to add, Bill, was I think the Rockton question came in specifically from a GP customer. If they'd like to know about the rest of the contents of the toolbox and all of the other toys that they own, and what they're capable of doing for them, I'd be happy to take that offline, or one of our consulting team would be happy to take that offline.
Awesome. Thank you, Granley.
On the DDMRP side, I think critically, while obviously it may be very new to or unknown for a lot of people, we do offer a very simple, rapid to deploy pilot for people to actually trial the solution on real data, because that's the only way you actually understand the solution, when you're working with your own data and your own business problems. So it's a very pragmatic approach to getting an understanding of the solution.
Excellent, thanks, Roger. And just a question just popped in for that topic. How long does it take to actually go through that process of deciding on a business solution for a company for DDMRP? Is there a process for that?
I mean, we would always start the process with the customer with education, because you have to get your managers and your key people understanding the principles of the methodology before you can actually sort of engage with them and show them how a software solution works. There's very little data setup to be required, because that's already in your ERP system. You're already processing your purchase orders, your manufacturing orders, your distribution orders, all your sales orders. All those transactions already exist in your ERP system, so there's very little actual setup to do. It's more a question of educating the people and then configuring the cloud integration. So overall, the pilot can be achieved in a matter of very few weeks.
So really, this starts with education more than it does training on the software or demonstrating a software package.
It very much so, because most people aren't trained in how to do sales and operations planning. Most people don't do formal qualifications in material requirements planning. They just get on and do the job. So those people have to firefight with whatever they're given, and they just get on with it. With DDMRP, we need everybody to take one step back and actually understand there is a different way of doing this. So we run a formal 2-day training course to actually walk people through the problems and symptoms that they're suffering from, taking them one stage back and get them to realize that if they looked at it a different way, then we could come up with a much better result. Once you go through that 2-day formal training, then learning the software and the solution and everything else becomes so much easier, because people's mindset has changed to understand that there is a better way of doing it from what we're doing at the moment.
Excellent, thank you. So it looks like we covered all of the questions for today. So we're just going to wrap up by reminding the attendees that if they have any questions about future webinars, please submit them to the link below. Our next session will actually be May 5th. And if there are any further questions that you would like to submit for that event, please send them to the info@sheaglobal.com email address, and we'll be happy to include those in the future webinar. If you'd like any support from SHEA Global on any of the topics that we've covered today, please feel free to connect with us at the following website, email address, and phone number. And of course, please note the email will also contain a link to the DDMRP webinar link at the end of this week that I think Roger and another guest will be attending. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Quiz the WIz. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.